Hello, 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 everyone. How are you? Hi, Dr. Patel. How are you doing?
Hey Bob, how are you? I'm good, thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you. Nice to see you. Hello, everyone. We are live everywhere, and we're going to help you grow your dry eye business. We have got an amazing speaker. My name is Bob Miglani. I'm the founder and CEO of Hoot, and I'm so delighted to welcome as a guest on today's live stream Dr. Hanish Patel. Dr. Patel, how you doing? What's going on?
I'm good. I'm good. Just finishing up a busy Thursday around here.
Yes, yes. It is Thursday. You've got patience. I see you're in scrubs. Do you wear the white coat at all, by the way, Dr. Patel, or do you do the
I
scrub?
have it hanging up right around the corner here.
Okay.
I don't usually wear it. It just
Yeah,
gets in the way, so I don't
yeah,
wear it.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I must admit, I like the white coats. I
yeah,
think the white coats represent authority, science, expertise, and that is who you are and what you are. But I totally get it. It becomes
yeah,
like, oh, like I got to wash it every other day, or I got to get like six of them, over the
yeah.
week.
Fluorescein all over it, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, thank you everyone for joining. Those of you who don't know us, so I'm Bob Miglani. The Hoot is a marketing automation platform for myopia management and dry eyes. We're delighted to share content and valuable insights from experts around the country with you on this live stream. And today, Dr. Patel owns a practice with in New York City, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his practice. Dr. Patel, talk to us a little bit about your practice. Just introduce yourself a little bit.
yeah. So I'm went to SUNY Optometry, did a disease residency, and started practice not too far away from SUNY. In fact, SUNY's only about 12 blocks away from here. So we are right in the middle of Midtown Manhattan. This practice itself is actually about 6 years old. Kind of a warm start. I've been in the neighborhood and then started a practice with some partners here. We are a full scope optometry practice. Pretty much do everything. A lot of specialty contacts. Myopia management is definitely a big part of our practice too, and then dry eye treatment is also a hugely growing part of our practice over the last few years. We also have a clinical research center, so we conduct clinical trials in pharmaceuticals, contact lenses,
Yeah.
optical devices, and things like that.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you. And you've become a dry eye expert, Dr. Patel. So let's talk, let's go right into helping give value to our audience here. Tell us what is just, so this is going out to everyone, going out to optometrists, doctors, business people everywhere. So what is dry eye disease, Dr. Patel? Talk to us about fundamentally about that, and then we're going to go into why you went into dry eye disease.
Yeah, I mean, dry eye disease, it's a big encompassing term we use, right? We will call everything dry eye, but there, as some of you may know, sure, there are many types of dry eye, and so dry eye is something that patients can experience whether they know it or not. Sometimes, that's one of the most underdiagnosed and certainly undertreated conditions I think we see in practice. Symptoms could be almost anything. So again, nothing. Tearing, redness, burning, blurry vision. These are the most common things that we hear from patients. And ultimately and fundamentally, what we're worried about is the cornea becoming too dry. Right, the cornea is the clear surface that we see through. If it becomes dry, it's unhappy. It can become cloudy. It could affect vision. That's our ultimate problem with dry eye. But our goal is to figure out why their eye is dry, what's
Yeah.
deficient in the tear film, and then address that.
Got it. Why did you get into dry eye in your practice? So talk to us about like the why, because you've got a pretty full scope optometry practice. We visited you, very impressive. It's in the 50s in Midtown. So why you're busy? Why do dry eye disease? Why get into
A
it?
few reasons. I think the first thing is it's a growing problem that people need to address, and so it's one of those things where we want it to be at the forefront. We've always tried to stay at the forefront of
Yeah.
technology, treatments, offering our patients the best possible care, right? And I think
Mhm.
dry eye, I mean, I've been practicing now a little over 15 years, and I think dry eye is the symptoms of patients coming in with dry eye has skyrocketed, especially in
Yeah.
the last few years. So, we're seeing patients coming in with that problem. So we really need to be able to solve it for them. I mean, that's why
Yeah.
we're here. And so that was one of our big things. We just saw it as an increasing part of our practice, just incoming patients, whether we advertise for it or not. The patients
Yeah.
were showing up with it. And so we
Yeah.
needed to have a way to address it. So that's
And
kind of
this device is a problem, right? This
yeah.
device is causing more and more screen time, as I understand is causing patients to develop dry eye disease. and more, importantly, meibomian gland dysfunction, right? So this is a big problem.
Yeah, we definitely, I mean, we can pretty much nail it down to post-COVID when everyone went remote, screen time. I'm in Midtown. Everyone had a lot of screen time. There's no question about that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even before COVID, there was plenty of screen time happening. I've got patients that work, 180 hours a week, on 8 screens all day long, right? You can see them from across the street in these high-rise buildings. But one thing that really changed was now everything is online. Even their meetings, they weren't having meetings in person. They weren't going out to get lunch all of a sudden. They weren't doing all these things where they were actually getting some breaks, So we've seen just, again, a skyrocketing amount of dry eye.
So patients are presenting with a problem. And then what I'm hearing, I don't know if it's true in your cases, obviously, is that primary optometry, is shifting into more increasingly specialized optometry because of the need. Certainly, the patient populations, that's the number one concern in supporting patient clinical care. But number two, from a business perspective, there's a lot more market value. There's more potential in revenues in dry eye disease management than ever before. So those are the two things I hear about. So let's get into when you started thinking about getting into dry eye disease and managing these patients coming in, you started saying, okay, right, what do I do? So how did you get started? So give us some tips on how you got started that might be helpful for other optometry practices who are saying, I've seen the same thing, Dr. Patel, but I don't know what to do first. Like, how do I get started?
Yeah. So we got started with, I think what a lot of people do is just things that were easy barrier to entry, and start with devices that you can start using if you want to add treatments into your practice. Don't forget all the things that we do have. We also have, pharmaceutical agents. We do have things like punctal plugs, all those things. But one of the things that we're learning most importantly about dry eye is there is a lot more meibomian gland dysfunction out there than we kind of thought, I think. And so a lot of the things that we were using before were treating aqueous deficiencies and some of those things. And yes, that may make a patient feel better, but you may not be actually getting to the root cause of the problem, right? So starting out with some of those things, very low barrier, you can get them going on warm compresses, all these things. You can start selling those things in your office.
Sure.
Patients will buy them, right? Sell some products. You don't have to have a lot of stuff, just curate a few things. Yeah. And that's what we do now. We've tried a range of things over the years, and I've kind of got my favorite things now, and that's pretty much all we stock. We keep it pretty simple for patients. And then we look at devices. We look at all the different devices that are out there. We did start with thermal devices just to kind of get us going, get those glands warm, do some expression, just get a feel for that. We can think about adding things IPL and now radio frequency and some of these technologies that are out there, low level light therapy, to add to your kind of repertoire of potential treatments for patients. But you start by identifying patients, identify those patients, get a list, start managing them, start talking to them about their dry eye, show them what's going on. Meibography is a great place to start. I think that's a good investment to make into your practice if you don't have it. Even before you get a device to treat them with, get meibography, start looking at the gland, start talking to patients about it so they understand what's going on, and then start getting a few patients together, and then think about what you want to do as far as your treatment options.
Yeah, let's talk about meibography for a second. I think it's really powerful because increasingly, so there's, as I sort of think about this, is that you've got all these patients who have dry eye disease and likely meibomian gland dysfunction. But if you're just talking about symptoms, you're only really speaking to this many patients. Yeah. So a lot more people have it, they don't have symptoms. Right. And there's no real way for you to know that unless you do meibography. So would you say the scanning, and pre-testing, I suppose, one of the most important things doctors should be doing?
I think so. I think if we shift our thinking to think about dry eye as an actual disease, which is dry eye disease, right? It is a condition that we should be identifying and diagnosing. Just like you might look on a routine eye exam, you're going to look for things like glaucoma. You're going to look at those suspicious nerves. You're going to look for a whole manner of different things. Look at the maculas. You're going to look at all these things to make sure they are otherwise healthy. This is something that we should really just start looking at. Again, I understand there's always a limit of how much you can fit into your comprehensive eye exam, right? We can't keep on adding. But it's very easy to add a quick lower lid meibography. Your technicians can do it, or if you want to do it if you have a slit lamp camera that can do it, whichever way you want to do it, we have our technicians do it. But you can quickly get an idea of what's going on with their glands, right, and identify the issue. Whether you're going to treat them now, whether you're going to watch them, again, think of a glaucoma patient. Are you going to assess a glaucoma suspect, really? Are you going to treat them immediately? Are you going to bring them back for more testing? Are you going to just watch them and you think the nerves are healthy? So I think if you start thinking about dry eye as an actual disease that's out there that can affect a patient, symptoms, no symptoms, as we all know, glaucoma.
Yes.
Find a glaucoma suspect, likely they don't have any symptoms. That's something that you pick up on your exam, right? So that's something.
Right. Yeah, and I think increasingly patients want that. They want to see a scan of their whatever you're telling them. They want evidence. They want proof. I mean, we go to dentists today. The dentists do an X-ray of our teeth, right? They do the scan of our teeth. We do, hips, shoulders, whatever it is. We get a scan. I mean, I will kid you not, Dr. Patel. I mean, I'm in my 50s, early 50s. And the conversation with my friends over dinner is like, hey, I got my blood test done. What's yours look like? What's your A1C? What's your cholesterol? What's your calcium score? I'm like, oh, mine's this much. They're like, oh, yeah, cool. And did you get this test? Did you get that test? This is a DEXA scan. We're increasingly doing more scanning of our body to prevent problems from getting worse, right? And I think patients, in one sense, they want to see that evidence. And they want to be educated about that because they want to be able to measure what's good for what they have with what's good, better, or worse. You know what I mean? They want to know what their scale is, I suppose.
Exactly. So, it doesn't matter what it is, even vision. Oh, how's my vision compared to other people? How does this, comparison is always good. So we do that. It's easy to just pull up their myography against, a known normal person or someone, office that has good glands and just compare, So, I use actually one of our ODs in the office, and I'm like, look at these glands. This patient, sometimes the patient might be 20-something with terrible looking glands, and we have a 40-something comparison, and they're like, oh wow, that's like they can tell right away. I mean, you don't even have to say anything; just show them the picture. And
actually, what's fun is if you even show them the photo comparison and say, you pick.
Yeah.
You tell me which one do you think yours is, and they always make it worse than
right, exactly.
So it's like, oh, okay, that's great.
They
so then
themselves.
Yeah, exactly. We're very hard on ourselves. So then what do you do? So if you do the myography, and then let's get into now treatments. Okay, let's get into how do you so before you get into treatment, so how do you educate? What's your process like? Talk to us about your process between diagnosis, the patient comes in, adult comprehensive exam, myography is being done, and they're being diagnosed. You make them pick their glands and say, okay, this is getting worse. How do you have that conversation? And then what do you do next?
Yeah, so we have a quick 30-second, 90-second conversation with them about their images, right? Show them what's going on. And then we will schedule them then for further testing. Again, going back to my glaucoma example, schedule them for further testing. That's what you're going to do. You're going to book them back for their visual field. We're going to book them back for little bone biography. We'll get their upper lids, maybe just make sure we've gotten really good lower lid, because sometimes the quick screening, it's a little blurry, it's not perfect, that's fine. Come back and get some better images. We do a tear breakup time. I don't particularly use SHRMED that much, but you can in young, healthy patients. I don't think it's all that helpful, but tear breakup time is super valuable. Good fluorescein images, looking for staining. I think that's really useful to do. Tear lab, inflammatory, those are things that you can use to basically get a whole picture of what's going on with their dry eye. A really detailed look at their lid margins, lids, what's going on. And then from there, we really educate them on, what's going on. We do have Hoot, so we do put them into the Hoot system before they come back for that, and so they have some education behind them, which is good. Just our patient today, actually, that was put into Hoot last week, and he watched all my videos, and and he said he knew exactly what I was talking about, and he said, well, when do you do? As I was going through my spiel with him about what's going on, he's like, well, what treatments am I supposed to get? So he already. He came in and asked me, what treatments am I getting?
Amazing.
Really helps with that. So, that's good. And then we talk about treatments. If they are inflamed, if they've got rosacea, if they've got all these things, show them those images and then talk to them about what your treatment options are.
Right. Now you've brought into your practice a treatment that is made by InMode, and so talk to us about what went into your decision of getting an InMode IPL and RF, and I'd love to understand. So that's one, it's like, how did you decide what to get? And then the second is, let's talk about which you choose to do, IPL, RF, and so on. Like, how do you just make that selection? So talk to us about why did you get this particular instrument for treatment?
So this is our, we would say like you don't want to keep buying instruments more, over and over again. But we did have an IPL before. We also had a MyBo before. So we've had a few different devices.
Okay.
And now we've kind of come to this. We've had this for a little, actually, a year and a few months now. One of the first to get it in the US. And so what we were really, so we had an IPL already. We had a MyBo thermal treatment already. But for me, what I was really looking for next was actually radio frequency. It's just so much more efficient at heating the glands, and as you get more and more into dry eye, you understand that MGD specifically, the better heat we can get into the glands, the better off the patient is, and how to get long-lasting results. And with the MyBo, we just weren't finding that long-lasting results. So we were looking at radio frequency devices really when we started that search of the different things that were out there, and really this was the first eye-specific device that came out for radio frequency, and very, very easy to use radio frequency device. It doesn't require grounding, shields, and other things. So I liked that from an implementation standpoint. It was a nice, easy switch from the MyBo device before, for smaller use for the technicians. And I also ended up just getting it with the IPL, ultimately just to save space, actually, more than anything else. Well, we have a decent sized office. It's not enough time, so it was nice to have everything on one, and we found that the IPL's been working well. So in terms of deciding what to do, I pretty much keep it simple. I think of IPL as inflammation. So if there is inflammation present, do use Inflammatory on a lot of our dry eye workups or surface workups. So if they're Inflammatory positive, if they have rosacea, so that's the easy one. If they have rosacea, they need IPL essentially. But anyone who's got inflammatory things, any inflammatory skin conditions too, if you just look at them and you say, how's your skin? Oh, my skin's dry, it gets inflamed, I get these red patches, all those kind of things. Guess what? That's probably happening to their eyelids too, right? So I think of that more inflammatory type of.
Inflammatory,
Also, if I see a lot of really, really short glands, I like to bring in the IPL for that too, because I think there is some underlying inflammatory process, whether you see it on their face or not. There's something going on causing that really short glands, assuming they haven't been on Accutane or some of those things, right? But so that's where IPL comes in for me. And then radio frequency is really our MGD tool, right? I mean, if we think about MGD, if we think about clogged glands, stasis, thick meibum that you kind of squeeze out of these glands, we want to heat that, and radio frequency allows us to deliver more heat right into the gland where we want it, and not as much on the surface. So it's super comfortable for patients. It works very, very effectively, so we can really melt down that meibum, get it really, really loose and warm, and then a little gentle expression if there's any kind of clogging, like waxy plug stuff that we want to try to get that out. So we use the radio frequency to kind of complement the MGD component, because that's really what we need. We need that bulk heating. You need to heat for a while, keep it warm, and really melt the meibum down.
Yeah, got it. No, so how is it performed? How many treatments is it? Like, how many sessions is it? And then what do you do first? What do you do second?
About that. Yeah, we usually start with a series of 4. I would say for almost everybody, 4 or more, I should say. Actually, 4 to 6 usually is our initial treatment protocol. We can certainly do IPL alone. We can do RF alone. We can do a combination of the 2 treatments. Again, depending on what they need. So we'll choose what they're going to need, and then we'll do those treatments. We do them 2 to 3 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks apart, something like that. So their initial series of 4, they're usually done by like 3 months, 2.5, 3 months, or something like that, if we get them on a pretty good schedule. And then we plan to just reassess, see how they're doing. So we reassess them with a follow-up, and then maybe we'll do a few more if they're just still not quite where we want them to be. The meibum's still kind of thick even after that much RF, which is rare, but it happens in some more tricky cases. Or we put them onto a maintenance schedule. So, most of our patients are going to get maintenance treatments once every 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, depending on, something like that usually. Some patients even more frequently, quarterly, depending on, kind of how they're doing. The thing I mentioned actually about RF. So RF, just like other thermal treatments, right? It's not skin type dependent. So, so those, depending on your patient demographic, you have a lot. You can pretty much use RF on everybody.
Yes.
Really only kind of contraindication really is some kind of like electrical pacemaker or something like that. Other than
Yeah.
that, you can pretty much treat everybody with RF. IPL, sticking to skin types 1 to 3, 4-ish.
Yeah, you did it on me and on one of my eyes, and it was pretty amazing. I mean, I still have to do one. The other one I have to come back to you to do the other one to even myself out. But you did it on me, and you put this gel on, and it's just this heat that goes around. And there was no cover. There was no plastic cover or anything like that. No shield. So it was open. We were at the conference at the Jacob Javits Center Vision Expo, and so you just did that, went around. I don't even remember, maybe 10 minutes at max or something like that.
Not even. I mean, so 8 to 10 minutes is a full treatment. I think we probably did like 5. If that.
Yeah, 5 minutes. Yeah, I felt very comfortable. Yeah, it was comfortable. It was easy. There was no redness. I mean, I have brown skin, so I don't think I am eligible for an IPL. I haven't gotten the skin testing.
You're just at the limits, really.
Yeah. Well, it's just the lighting. Lighting here is making me look good. So it's like Hollywood television, right? Everyone looks like this, but in reality, I'm like really dark. But so I think it's like you go around a few times, and the pain. I mean, from the patient perspective, I felt warm. I felt comfortable. No pain, and it was easy. I mean, it was. And when I finished, I said to you, I felt lighter.
Yeah.
I don't know why I use that word, but I felt lighter. And you've said that that's something that other patients have said same to you.
It's the word that people seem to say after an RF treatment. It's quite remarkable. It's like my eyes feel lighter. Feel so heavy. It's amazing that everyone just says that, and I never prompt that, but I hear it a lot.
Yeah. And then you look in the mirror. And I think I went home and I said I think my wife was like, she's like, hey, you look a little different. And so I'm like, good way or bad way? I'm like, is there wrinkles? Yeah, right. Where's my wrinkles, right? So that's I suppose a nice side effect.
Yeah, and that's something to always discuss with patients as far as side benefits. I like to call them side benefits. With IPL, your complexion you will usually get better. I mean, that's a really fan favorite with patients. In fact, some patients may even say, hey, can I just get another IPL? I think I kind of want one for my skin, and
totally.
There's nothing wrong with that. So, definitely reduction in redness. Rosacea patients really do like it. I mean, it really is amazing for rosacea patients. They see a huge improvement in their face, especially if they've got a lot of cheeks around the nose. They're going to see a lot of that, some redness around the eyelid margins. And then RF, absolutely, fine line wrinkles, you can definitely target that with RF too. You're going to get that just by doing a dry eye treatment, and if you really want to get a better aesthetic to endpoint, you can certainly use up the RF.
I heard today from Dr. Ann Hoshite, and she's such a wonderful, she's an expert, she's a consulting work in optometry, and I didn't know this, but apparently dentists are starting to do this. And she told me these 3 words. She's like, dentists are doing this, brighten, tighten, and there's a 3rd one. Oh my God, I forget it. I just had it. Brighten, tighten, and whiten.
Whiten, yeah.
Right? So you tighten it. So they're doing they're doing RF.
Yes, yeah. So without
RF
device, so actually, if you think about where, again, with InMode, where they brought out it's called the Forma Eye, which is the radio frequency device specifically designed to fit around the eye. But the kind of original version of that is a bigger head that is used on the face, so you can, or face or body actually. So you can use it on the face, you can use it around the jawline, get rid of this stuff, you can use it up around here. You can get up to the lower lid area, you just can't get it to the kind of top, it's kind of square shaped. You can use it on your neck. I mean, you can skin tighten wherever you want to with this type of device. So it's something that we can actually add to our device too. So it's something that we're actually looking at kind of moving into a little more on the aesthetic side, where we can add that. And then dentists, thankfully, they have, luckily for them, they have quite a nice scope of practice. So they can add a lot of aesthetic things. I mean, they're also adding things like microneedling with RF and some of those things that they can do to help. Because, everyone's looking at how they can
grow better. Pivot, and for sure. And dentists, I think, unlike a lot of optometrists, I think that have no problem with cash pay, converting cash paying patients typically, right? That conversation, for some reason, optometrists are fee phobic.
Yeah.
You guys work so hard, and I know, so many of them are my friends like yourself, and just work so hard. And so how do you get to a place, Dr. Patel, where an optometrist watching this can say, okay, I want to do what Dr. Patel is doing. He's so much more advanced than I am. How do I get to a place where I can convert these kind of patients, educate these patients, and really get seriously into dry eye disease? So share with us maybe 2 or 3 tips as we wrap up here in the next 5 minutes. Just 2 or 3 tips on getting started and getting going, and your advice to your younger self. So this is you, Dr. Patel, a couple years ago. How many years ago? And say, hey, do these 3 things and to accelerate getting into dry eyes and growing your business.
Yeah. I agree with you, by the way. I don't know why everyone's so afraid of charging fees, right? That's across the board of everything. But so educate. I think that's the big one. You just said it too. But I think it's very easy to just, even if you do a picture or a scan, you don't even tell the patient that you did it. They don't even know what you're doing sometimes. So educate. I mean, I don't know. Most of us now, I think, probably are comfortable with showing an Optomap, right? You get an Optomap. It's almost at this point standard of care, right? I think so. You get some type of retinal photo. You show the patient. So same thing with their glands, you show the patient. By the way, I use this for myopia management too. Start educating your patients, educate your pregnant patients, your patients that have kindergarten kids, that are -8 sitting in your chair, right? So just educate them, just drop that couple of sentences, say, oh, by the way, if your kid's myopic, we can do something about that now, right? So if someone's dry, we can do something about that now. We can actually treat that, right? So educate your patients. It doesn't take much, just drop them a little bit of something, and that's really helpful because they keep it in their mind and they think about it, and then they come back a year from now. You're in private practice for many years, so if they come back a year from now saying, oh, you told me about that dry eye, yeah, I really do think it's getting worse, what can I do now? And they're ready. At that point, they're ready, right? So even if you don't convert or capture a patient immediately, stay on them. That's the next thing.
That's right.
Schedule a follow-up. If they have dry eye, it's a disease, you're going to manage it. That means you're going to see them frequently. You're not just going to give them tears and send them out the door, for a year, right? You're going to come back in 3 months. Let's see how you've been doing with your warm compresses. Let's see, if you're not ready yet, that's okay. Let's just work and you're a partner with the patient, right? You're trying to offer them the best, but may not be ready, and that's okay. But keep them in the conversation. I think is really, really important. So I think those are the 2 big things: educate them, keep the conversation open with them, keep them coming back to you, keep in touch with them, right? Make sure that you don't just let them loose if they're not quite ready. That's okay. Patients.
And we have a capability in Hoot to be able to help them do that. So once you capture the patients into Hoot system, is you can activate what's called a nurture campaign, which sends them these videos to just educate them. Hey, stay off screens, get on omega-3s, and so on. It just keeps that patient warm over the course of 6 months, so that when they come back to see you, they're primed and they're open to receive instruction from their doctor.
Yeah, you guys just recently added that, right? The long.
Yep.
I think is really good, right? Because sometimes, yes, we want to get them sooner, but not everyone's going to be ready, and that's okay. You don't have to convert everybody. You get more confident as you believe in your technology and you see results, right? So it's okay to start slow. It's okay not to have 10 patients a week. You're going to start with a couple a month. If you get to 2 or 3 a month, you'll be able to pay off your device and feel confident and get comfortable. Don't discount your services too much. Like, charge what you're worth, and you'll feel better about it as well. So I think it's helpful to make sure you're charging what you're worth. For
sure. And I think you'll just feel better about it. I think it's a really very important point, because the last thing you want to do is to spend all that time educating and then paying for this equipment, this instrument that you got. It's like a mortgage sitting on your shoulder, right? And then you're like, it was like so much work, and I'm undercharging. I'm not doing dry eye disease anymore. I hear this in the myopia world so much, is that doctors undercharge, and then these parents ask a lot of difficult questions, and then they eats up their chair time. They're like, why am I doing this? I just don't want to do this. It's a hassle. So really must charge what you're worth. But also you have to remember, in the context of things today, more and more patients are willing to spend cash for their own health. I mean, we do so many different scans. I mean, we're talking about like a DEXA scan is now becoming a standard for so many people. There's so many different things that patients are willing to pay for if it's about them. And I think to your point, when you educate to the patient about them, their problem, inform them, rather than saying, hey, use the solution. It's really about them, educate. Someone said, Don Miller, who's a writer, wrote this one amazing book called Story Brand. He says people want to focus on 5 things in their life. 1, survival. They want to survive. 2 is they want to thrive. They want to make money. They want to find meaning. They want to find love and connection. They want to find purpose. If you're not talking about one of those things, you're completely missing the boat. And therefore, when you're educating patients in dry eye disease in this case, you must talk 75% about the problem and 25% about the solution. Because nobody cares about your solution. If you talk about your solution in the beginning, they're not going to care. They're like, it's about you. It's not about me. So when we talk about the problem, and I think your point is so, so powerful, is charge what you're worth, but educate them. Really, because you're interested in helping them with their problem. I think that's the key message I'm hearing for you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, even if my patients that go into Hoot, I still review basics of the tear film. They get a little bit faster because they're like, oh, yeah, they're kind of nodding their head with me, so that's really great. And they've already heard it once, now they're hearing it again, and so it's really reinforced, and they really understand, what's going on, and then talking about solutions makes sense to them, right?
Yeah.
You just say, oh, your glands are terrible, you need IPL. There's no way that patient's going to even understand what the heck you're talking about, so
exactly.
Understand, you got to make them little photography experts,
Absolutely. And I think so I'll give you an example the other way. I had a doctor recently who said to me, Bob, there's this patient, I know, you tell us not to cram the comp, but the patient was sitting in my chair, she had MGD, meibomian gland dysfunction. I recommended her, IPL. Patient said no. Then she went home and she wrote a 1-star negative Google review saying, oh, doctor sold me these $700 glasses. And then she told me about a disease I never heard of before. Then magically she had a solution called an IPL, which I never heard of before. And that happened to be, a couple of $1,000s, right? It's like, what? So it's overwhelming for patients when and I see the intention of optometrists. They want to help right away solve the problem.
Yeah. You get excited and you just like, tell them everything,
Right.
You do want to educate, but there is a limit to what, just let them absorb, let them make sure they understand, right? And it takes a little bit of practice. Like, it's not going to be something you can do right away, right? But as you get more and more comfortable, but again, I think like for me, what really I keep going back to it because it really stuck for me was the glaucoma analogy, because for me, that's, we learned that in school, where it's been great. Like, I figured out how to show a patient a nerve and say, this looks a little suspicious, we got to bring you back. And so that really just translated for me, and then you can start to build on that.
I love it. Dr. Patel, thank you so much. We're going to wrap it up here. It's Dr. Patel talking to us about dry eye disease, meibomian gland dysfunction. We talked about RF, we talked about IPL, talked about conversion, we talked about education, what the patients really need. And that is the driver of the reason Dr. Patel went into dry eye disease management, because he saw a lot of these patients. So Dr. Patel, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
All right, take care.
Thank you very much. All right, this is Bob Miglani. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.